Today we're going to learn about Langchain, why you should use it, and how to use it. We're going to build a simple chatbot using Langchain and Python. So if you already know why you would use Langchain and want to go straight into building, you can definitely skip ahead to that part. Langchain is an open source framework used for building large-scale AI-powered applications with very little code. It's an all-in-one solution that includes everything you need to build modern LLM-driven applications, including prompt templates, embeddings, vector databases, guardrails, and even commonly used third-party software and AI. Don't worry if you don't know what most or any of that means. I plan to make more videos breaking down each thing, so if you appreciate this intro, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a single one. Now, why would you want to use Langchain instead of something more straightforward, like OpenAI's package for using GPT, or Anthropic's for using Claude, or Cohere's for their LLMs? Isn't creating a prompt, sending it off, and getting a response enough? What makes Langchain very useful is that nearly every functionality you can think of needing has a neat abstraction associated with it. As your application grows, more needs will come up. What do you do when your AI outputs morally dubious or incorrect content? What if you need your AI to output content that's not part of its training data? The ideal solution to these problems is to build your own LLM, but that takes a lot of time and a lot of engineering power to accomplish. And if you're strapped on either of those things, building your own LLM is just unrealistic. Langchain is an all-in-one solution that can address these problems without having to create your own LLM. Now that you know why we would use Langchain, let's start building a chatbot. Okay, so we're going to start off by building the simplest possible chatbot, and it's only going to be a few lines of code. I have a blank main.py file where I'm going to put the logic for the chatbot. I also have a .env file where I'm going to store my API key for OpenAI, since that's the model I'm going to be demonstrating on. And I also have a gitignore file so I don't accidentally push my API key when I put this code on GitHub for you to look at. Let's start by creating our virtual environment using Python's venv model. So it's going to go like this: Python 3-m venv env. And if Python 3 doesn't work for you, you can just use Python. Okay, so now we're going to activate it by doing source env bin activate. Pretty standard Python stuff. All right, so now let's install our dependencies. All right, so we're going to install 3 of them. First thing is going to be obvious: pip install Langchain. And this is going to get us everything that we need to work with Langchain. All right, now let's install the OpenAI package. So it's going to be pip install Langchain underscore OpenAI, just like that. And then the last dependency we're going to install is specifically for accessing our .env file. So we're going to do pip install python -.env, just like that. All right, now let's get to coding. But first, let's import everything that we need. So from .env import load.env. And just so I don't forget, we're just going to load our .env file. And then we're also going to import our chat model. So that's going to look like this: from Langchain underscore OpenAI import chat OpenAI, just like that. All right, now we're going to create the model, and all we need to do is instantiate the chat OpenAI class and pass in the model that we're going to use, which in this case is GPT 3.5, since it's very fast and cheap. So that's going to look like this: model equals chat OpenAI, model equals, I believe it's GPT-3.5-turbo, just like that. And now all we're going to do is send a prompt and get a response back. And that's going to look like this: response equals model, which is this thing, .invoke, which every Langchain object is going to have. And this, I'll explain this more in a later. And we're going to pass in a prompt. We're just going to have it say hi for now. All right. Oh, this should go up here. And then we're just going to print our response. All right, now we're going to do Python 3 main.py, and we're going to see what happens. All right, so look at what we get back here. we got something back called an AI message object, which is very specific to Langchain. And it's going to contain our response, which is under content. And it's also going to give you a bunch of metadata that you may or may not find useful. Now, when you get this response back, you'll have to reach in and grab it by calling response.content. Langchain also abstracts this by using something called a string output parser. Now that would look something like this. We're going to reach into our Langchain core library. So from Langchain underscore core dot output parser import str output parser, string output parser. All right, so now let's create our parser model. So it's going to look like this. Parser equals string output parse. Oh, it should be parser. Parser. All right, now we're going to run these two things together as a chain. So that's going to look something like this. Result equals, I'm just going to move this up here. And then this is going, we're gonna run the invoke method on the parser, and we're gonna pass in the result of our model invocation, just like this. And so if I do this correctly, all we should get back. Oh, whoops. I messed that up. There we go. Yep, I forgot to add the S. It's output parsers. Now, the more idiomatic way to write this would be chaining the model and the parser together. This is accomplished using Python's pipe operator, which chains together multiple functions and operations. So it would look something like this. Chain equals model pipe parser. And then, instead of having to do all of this, we're going to do response equals chain dot invoke, and we're going to pass in our prompt. So the way this is going to work is that we're going to pass say hi into the model, and then the result of the model is going to be passed into the parser. And if we did this correctly, we should get something like this. And we look at that, we get something exactly like this. Now, this chaining flow is going to be important to understand as you grow your Langchain application and add more functionality to it. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you will be prompt templates. Prompt templates offer a straightforward interface for changing the prompt based on different data that passes through, and this is super useful when you're developing user-facing or data-driven applications. So this is going to involve a lot of typing, so I'm going to just copy and paste. So what we're going to do is from Langchain core, the prompts module in the Langchain core library, we're going to import the chat prompt template. Now we're going to create our prompt template by calling a method on chat prompt template called from underscore messages, and that takes an array of tuples. I'm actually just gonna copy and paste them for time's sake. There we go. Whoop, don't need that part. All right, so we're passing in an array of tuples, and the tuples basically contain different information about each component of the chat history. So we have our system prompt, which is you are a history buff that can take any American state any year after 1776 and talk about what's going on in the state at the time. And then the user prompt will be state is going to be a variable that we pass in called state, and then year, the same thing, we're going to pass in a variable for year. All right, so now that we made our prompt template, all we have to do is add it to the chain, just like this. And it's super important that we put it in the front because we're going to pass in our data here, we're going to invoke the prompt template with the data that we pass in here, and then that's going to be passed into the model, and then the model will be passed into the parser, and you'll see it. So for the chain invoke function, we're going to pass in a state, and let's make that state, I don't know, Montana. And then for year, we're going to pass in 2006. That should work, right? All right, so let's run it and see how it works. And look at what we get back. In 2006, Montana was experiencing a number of significant events and developments across the state. Oh, wow, okay. The real power of Langchain lies in the ability to change anything about your AI workflow when you need to. For example, you might want to try a different LLM. You can install Langchain's library for the LLM as a dependency and replace comparatively fewer lines of code. So let's say I wanted to use Anthropic's Claude LLM. So I'm going to do pip install Langchain underscore Anthropic. All right, so now we have Anthropic in there. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to replace this with Anthropic. And then we're going to replace all instances of Chat OpenAI with Chat Anthropic. And then we're going to replace this model with something more specific to Anthropic. I'm just going to copy paste this because I can never remember to type all of this out. And that's it. Now our app runs on Claude. So let's run it so I can prove that it works. And there it is. There's the output that the way Claude would do it. And of course you'll need an API key from Anthropic for this to work. I happen to have it in my end file already, so it just works. Langchain is a very useful framework for leveraging AI, and I've only scratched the surface of what Langchain is capable of. I use it at my job all the time, and I'm constantly learning something new whenever I have to use it. I would love to do more videos about it in the future, so if you want to follow me on this journey to learn Langchain, be sure to like and comment on this video, and subscribe to my channel. I drop a new video about building cool and useful stuff every Wednesday. I'll see you in the next one.